to the Fridge Friends Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Martin, and I'm super excited to announce for the third time, I've got your boy, Chris Foster, in the refrigerator.
Hey guys, good to be back.
Trying something different. It's not super hot in the fridge.
No kava this time.
Like the first time. It's not kava and friends like the second time.
No, I've done it both times. Both times I've been on, I've used kava.
Oh, yeah, the first time you brought kava in jars, the second time we made some kava.
Yeah. So I'm experimenting.
I'm going to get this fan.
Oh, it's so funny because I live my whole life with a fan on. Like, in my house. I feel like I never... Like, I sleep with the fan on. There's an air purifier running all day.
I'm just conscious of it because the microphones, people hate that shit. It's like chips and fans. That's the two things they hate the most when it comes to if you got your headphones on.
Yeah, I feel you. It's, I don't know, but I'm also realizing where I'm not super picky. Listening to, shout out to Wolf Park podcast. Parker Cron and Tyler Wolf.
Yeah.
That one they did
Or Jack is smart. He just records that on his phone.
Yeah.
Still worth a listen for sure. Check it out.
Yeah, and because they just did it right there in Matt's Weed, in the hallway, on the way to the bathroom by the elevators. And
that Wolf Park episode?
Yeah, and I had my headphones in, and it actually didn't sound that bad. Like, when you just use SM58s.
Yeah.
Like, just like normal. I'm like, oh.
Well, because those already have a noise canceling thing.
Right, they
a
only
lot
pick
of people
up.
Don't know that. Yeah,
they're made up so close.
That's why we use those ones on stage, because they're made to not pick up a bunch of outside shit.
Because the speakers,
like these ones, that's
it's like the speakers are right there, and it's like it's not picking that up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But it's like whereas something like this would have more.
But that's where you get feedback too. If you like walk
if you get
by
too close,
the receiver, or sometimes on those wireless mics, you just walk by the stack and just.
Yeah. So I'm starting to realize where I'm going to get a hell of a lot less picky with recording on mine. Because that's the only thing that stopped me from recording more episodes was just being too picky with the setup. And really just to have a setup. I'm going to have Ian Yearsley.
Good choice.
With some of the shit yeah, just because I keep hearing that. I know he's experienced enough, having been in a band and whatnot.
Yeah, well, and Ian, he's experienced like audio production shit. He's actually gave me some tips on the Fridge Friends, you know, and showed me how to do filters and different stuff. He knows a ton about audio, and he's recommended some different equipment to me that's like, oh, if I would have known that before, I would have saved money and had a better thing.
I know.
I don't know why. You know?
Right, because when he mentioned it means to not need a computer to record it, I like that, because then you could just do it.
Yeah, you could
somewhere.
You could use a Zoom recorder, like a portable one, and they cost the same as this interface that I bought. And you just plug mics into it, and then you have an SD card, and then it records the audio onto the SD card, and it's like battery powered.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
See, because I would like to be able to like go interview my grandparents, like just take it to their house and be like, "Hey, can I just like ask you a bunch of questions?"
That's something I thought about doing since I started this podcast. Is because I have a few grandparents that are still alive.
Even say, hey, even if you don't want me to
some
put it
amazing
out
stories.
there, I would like to have that. For if you pass, like, I would just like to have that conversation recorded. And I don't know, that would be fun. It's something they don't really. I don't know. It's like so new age. It's just funny. Like talking about getting 80-year-olds on podcasts is hilarious.
Record your life story. It's amazing though. Have you ever heard the Honeydew podcast with Ryan Sickler?
A little bit.
Okay. Have you heard Joey Diaz on there at all?
I have not.
Dude, all right. That's the best Honeydew. No offense, Ryan Sickler. The whole show's good. I listened to the podcast, but every episode of the Honeydew is highlighting the lowlights, right? That's the idea of his podcast, so people will tell, like, the downfalls of their life, and
it's dungy,
take care of that. And usually they do one episode, and it's like, even if they lived a tough life, you can get all those stories out in an hour and a half. Joey Diaz gets on there. I think it's like 7 or 8 parts. He goes, all right, this is 82 to 84, hour and a half of like when he's like 5 to 7 years old, and then the next time he goes on, it's 2 hours of like, you know, junior high school.
That's so funny.
It's crazy, dude. And
I
love podcasts like that where it's like a life story type thing. And normally his podcast isn't that. But
right. Yeah, because people keep telling me I have a knack for that. Like somebody told me I should be like a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I could see maybe like getting there at one point, but I'm like, God, I would just feel so fake of doing that. I feel like
like you feel like somebody else should be motivating people, or
but
like
I want to use my comedy to do it. I just feel like I don't know, because that's kind of what I try to do with like the talking about it. Like I don't know. I have actually I don't want to say anything about it yet. It's a coming soon thing. Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
So I'll refrain, you know what I mean? Because this is like Hollywood, dude. This is like, we're comedians.
Once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah, no. But no, for real, it's so funny. Like, I met this girl, and I told her, well, because she's not on any social media, and I told her, I'm like, well, because she has a Facebook made. I was like, go on Facebook if you want to see my life, I guess. I'm like, I just haven't deleted anything since I made it. Like,
and that's probably added 10 plus years.
Yeah, and it gives like the basic rundown of like the facts.
Yeah. That
people are usually looking for, and I don't know. I'm just at that weird point, like where I notice a lot of people like, do you delete pictures of like exes and stuff? Is that normal? Because like I don't leave them there as like I don't know, but I've noticed a lot of people not doing it, and it seems like a movement where they're like, look, I'm not going to just...
It's a part of their life. I mean, I could see that. Yeah. I don't know. I've never actually personally, like, dealt with that issue, because the last time I dated somebody besides my wife was way before social media was, like, popping. Well, I mean, I guess not really, but...
Right. See, I know, but me too. I mean, that's kind of where I was
like,
at, too.
Yeah, like 2008.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Damn.
Yeah.
It was way back.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be locked up. Locked up in a marriage. I say that.
Locked up in a marriage.
Different from the actual being locked up.
Yeah.
It kind of feels that way sometimes, but you guys seem happy.
It's more of an ashram situation. You're deciding to do it, but it still is like, you know, commitment.
Right? But yeah, what's up, man? Talk to me.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing something a little different. I had asked you if maybe there's some stories or some premises or something like that you have thought maybe I'll figure out how to make it a stand-up someday, but I've never tried it out yet. Because I know I personally have a few, and I think it would be kind of cool for listeners to hear behind the scenes of like how we put jokes together a little bit, you know, or how we punch up a story or something like that. And I like your style and obviously admire your comedy, and I feel like both of us teaming up together, we might be able to come up with something funny out of a personal life experience or like a premise you got or something.
Right, because I do have, so what I do too is, so this is a good piece of advice I heard on the Behind the Bits podcast. Shout out to Scott Curtis. I love that podcast.
Yeah, and that's a good podcast.
Yeah, and like,
if you haven't checked it out, Behind the Bits with Scott Curtis.
Please, especially if you like comedy writing. And like somebody mentioned filling a notebook and with like just quick ideas that don't really have a place, and then like filling it up and putting it away. And
now, we're talking like ideas of premises for jokes.
Oh yeah, and just like that's a funny concept. It's super vague. Just get that down, and I'll deal with it later. Yeah, it's like because you just know you'll miss it. And just like today, I just realized I have this like big old fat page of them, and I was actually kind of looking at them before I came. I'm sure I bring a notebook. Do you bring stuff to the table too?
Notebook wise, I've gone back and forth with it because like I feel like if I keep it digitally, I'll keep it all in the same place. Now I have a benefit to like when I've been writing down a notebook because I feel like I'll come up with ideas in different ways. Like first of all, it takes longer to write it than you can think of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? In a different way than when you're typing or something like that. So I feel like you come up with ideas that way. And then also you're looking at it in a different way. And you'll like come back to it and stuff like that.
Right.
So there's a big benefit to the notebooks thing. But I found myself like writing tons in one notebook and then I won't keep track of it very well. I'll end up going into another notebook. I probably have 7 or 8 around the house. And then if I want to, like, set up for, like, it's great for working on stuff, but if I'm trying to put together a set list for a show or something like that, I'm always using the phone.
Dude, you just explained, like, the problem of my life.
Yeah.
Like, my problem in my comedy career is, like, I just feel like I have a comedy career, but like I have such a hard time like getting it all together, because I'm like, I could just, when it comes time for a show, I'm like, God, I know I have all this material, but to like get all the stuff that's like in, I don't know, I used to categorize it somewhat decently.
I use different note apps too on my phone, and then all of them communicate with my laptop too. So then I can just be like move stuff around and share it on there. But then that's also another downside to the notebooks. If I just jot something down in a notebook, it's not going into that hard copy. But
you have to write it down again.
Yeah.
And I think I've just had to accept that. Well, so I heard this really good method for just remembering things for your set is like the thing of so like, and I'm gonna start doing this like the day of a set, like get what my list would look like that I would want in my pocket to associate with a different place in the house.
Yeah.
And so like to go into the bedroom and think of like your first joke and like to, I don't know, like that to me, like all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, that's so easy. Like,
oh yeah, I've heard of that before. Like when you're practicing or rehearsing for your set, and you kind of do it all around in different settings, so that you can associate different things with different parts of the material. So later on, when you're trying to think of like, oh yeah, what do I do next? Then it subconsciously in your head, you're like, oh yeah, I was going down the stairs. Yeah. At that point. So now that's when I start talking about, you know what they say about road construction. Right. They never fix shit.
Right. You know? Right. For real, if like my bedroom was like my like anchor for a joke, I'm like, that just suddenly makes sense to me.
Yeah, and then that'd be a good strategy if you just move locations every time you switch bits.
I like that. Yeah. Let's see what I got here. So this one I really like. I have a couple ideas here that I have tried before.
Let me just push this mic in just a little closer to you.
Do you want it? Yeah. Do you want it never used? Do you want it totally never used?
It's up to you. You know, it's something that you're like working on. You know, there's some ideas I've had that like I've tried before. Then I'm like, maybe I should have punched this up before. Right. And I know you do a lot of story stuff. Yeah. So that's why, you know, I figured it was a perfect match to be like, you got any stories that maybe you like you tried before and you're like, this didn't go that hot, or you're like, I have an idea that maybe I haven't finished yet, or I haven't tried yet, and then
this one here
together we try to make it into something that at the next open mic or something you try out, you know?
Right. So this is one I tried and like kind of stumbled over just last night, and it's the first time I'd ever tried it, but I like, because I need like jokes to go with them. I said I need a load of. I went to do laundry, and it was the first time in my life I've ever done a load of darks, and I had to look up on my phone whether or not it was politically correct to call it a load of darks or a load of blacks. Yeah. And like the concept was amusing to them, but didn't really have much to go with it. Yeah. Saying like, I sure don't want to call. Tyson Gussman had mentioned, he's like saying like, I sure don't want to call them blacks, like just to kind of flip it to word it as such, but I don't know, because that's also like...
I feel like you could build on that, you know? Like, it's a pretty good one-liner type situation, but if it's something you're looking to build on, you could be like, you know, how we segregate our laundry, because it'll, like, bleed over, you know, or, like, put, like, extra tags on it or something, you know? But
we can't have that bleeding over into the whiteness.
It depends, like, you know, and then you could maybe do something with, if you ever wash, like, a red thing in a load of whites, and then the whole thing's fucked up, you know?
That's so funny.
It's like...
I gotta write that down.
You know what I'm talking about. We could maybe do, like, a play on words there or something.
Can't bleed into my white. My whites. I love that.
Yeah. I don't know. You might want... So you got your initial line. Maybe that's the middle. And we think of another line for the beginning before you do the... I gotta look up and find out.
Yeah, because like that's not like the smoothest way to put that.
Well, just because then it makes it 3 lines. We'll think of something funny that gets you into the idea of like, hey, I'm just doing laundry here.
Yeah. You know? So I was doing laundry essentially like And then, because I almost feel like it's unnecessary to point that out. Sorry, I get all comedy nerd when I'm like looking at my writing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, but
you have to, because you got to try not to put too much in there. You got to keep it narrowed down as much as you want.
You know what'd be cool is if we like got videos too of like new jokes we were working on or something that we were trying to hash out that you had ready. Yeah. To like play, because like I was.
From open mic sets and stuff.
Yes, but as long as especially if I leave with a like punchlines, like that's.
And then you could try it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I can write on that too because that's the funniest shit ever. Yeah. I can't have it bleeding into my waist.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more I.
Yeah, maybe to get into it, just comment on. You know how we don't figure out things for ourselves anymore? Like, no one ever told me how to do my laundry. I'll just Google it. But you gotta put the right thing into Google. And then be like, I want to ask it, do I put my colors? Because I don't want to say my blacks, or something like that to ease into your first joke.
What would be cool, actually, is if you had people bring a video of them doing these jokes. Doing the jokes that they were talking about on here. Yeah.
That'd be super cool. And, because jokes over time, I mean, as you're doing them, you come up with more tags, different ways to say it, and it becomes polished.
Well, because you could, like...
But I also like the idea of people that have nothing to do with comedy listen to the show and be like, oh, that's kind of how they're...
That's how you
coming
do
up with this. Like, the rude idea is he's just like, oh, this is a funny idea.
Yeah, no, that's actually great.
Everyone does this with the laundry, and then we build it into a thing, and they're like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah, because, like, having two people's structures, too, on something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, because are you wanting to, like, have a thing?
What do you mean?
Out of this? You mentioned, like, to like... Or can I move on to another one too?
Oh yeah, just move right on to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, or if you had even a story or something, I figured that would be the whole idea of this episode, is we just kind of kick back and forth on some different shit that we, either have had the idea of trying on stage, or we were just like, I need some help working on this, or it was going to be the next thing you're working on. I know I put a bunch of stuff, like you were saying, fill a notebook of ideas.
Yeah.
I haven't necessarily done that, but I have so many things that I'll put off to the side where I'm like, there's something here, but I don't go through the whole process of writing. Where I punch it up and do line by line of like what jokes I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But I've come up with some good stuff from just being like, this is a funny story, and then later on punch it up. Like that story I've recently been doing about cutting my dick.
Yeah.
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 I wrote that the idea of like, I'm gonna make this into a stand up at some point a long time ago, and then one time I just like had saw that in my list of shit and was like, all right, tonight's the night, and then I just punched it up into a thing, tried it a few different ways, and then was like, here's how I'm doing it.
And now it's a usable chunk of
I have
material.
a monster story that I can't figure out that I could do so many different ways, but I lived, some fans of the podcast know this, you already know this, but I lived under a fake identity for like 4 years, like as a different person, to evade felony warrants that eventually I went to prison for. And like,
you had the balls to do that.
And dude, there's so many things with it too. Like, I've got a DUI under that name, right?
Right.
And I had no record, so if I get pulled over, go to jail, they don't have bail bondsmen in the state. It was Oregon. They don't have bail bondsmen, so they have a reasonable bail, and you just pay it, and they let you out. They don't even book you, right? Just give you a court date. So they did that. I had no record. I did diversion program where they're like, if you do this class, then we wipe it off your record. All this shit. The whole time I had felony warrants in another state while I'm doing that. When I went to...
You were utilizing an alias and, like, had charges?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, no, that was the whole purpose of it, was to, like...
Right,
when I get pulled over, be like, here's my ID. I've worked in a different...
but you had charges on both names.
I ended up with charges on my fake identity while I was on the run, yeah. But they didn't like fingerprint me to book me in and all of that, so I got away with it.
That's
and
crazy.
Actually, there's one guy, dude, that when I get taken to this jail in Burns, Oregon, I think. Yeah, Burns, Oregon. I ended up having to stay the night at a jail there because of a ticket that I had, right? Under this fake name. And there was a dude that I knew from Idaho in that jail doing like 3 weeks or something. And it's a tiny jail, so it's like 8 people in one room and then like 4 in another room. Right. And as soon as I walk in there, he's like, "Oh, hey, Jake, what's up?" And I'm like, "Shut it down, dude." Like, shut it down. I'm out of here tomorrow. But that's not my name till tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I had to like take him aside in a room full of a bunch of other people and be like, "Hey, dude, like I'm under a fake identity in this bitch. I'm trying to get out in the morning. If they find out I'm not getting out, I'm going to prison." Oh, and I have so many different stories from that time because it was 4 years of my life. That most of the time it was just kosher. I worked. Under a fake name, paid my taxes, I had a lease, all that.
Whoa.
But there's a couple run-ins with the law where I used my fake identity to get out of a tight situation.
Dude, you can actually live a pretty good life with a fake identity.
I feel like if you don't get fingerprinted, you're good to go, I feel like.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Like you can fake everything else.
Yeah, well, because the trick is, all you have to do is get a real driver's license with your picture and someone else's information on it. Once you have that and a social security card, you can do anything that anyone else could do. And if it's a real one, not a fake, like from a dead person, which is what I did, if it's a real one, then there's no way to say that it's fake. And then if it's a dead person, then it's like nobody's coming after you that you're like stealing their identity. They die. And then it helps if they died when they were young because there's no pictures of them in the DMV or anything. You get the first driver's license. You know what I mean? So they're like, "This is the dude right here." And they're not, no one at the DMV knows if that dude's dead. There's no go-between vital statistics at, death certificates and the DMV. That's not a thing. Right. They can barely figure out how to get fucking license plates to the right car,
Dude, that's so funny. I feel like my brother's gonna laugh so hard when he hears this, just because like we knew so many people who like, especially people he knew that he was locked up with who just kept going back like
because you run and you get caught. I heard of that so many times, so I had planned this out that I was like, if I ever have to go on the run, I'd already got a birth certificate lined up, all this shit before I ever even had to use it. Right. And then when I had to use it, I was like, I had kind of like. When you see somebody smirking, they're like something they don't know. Mm-hmm. I had that moment with my PO when they're like, "We're gonna send you to prison over this whole thing," and I had this thing in the back of my head where I was like, "I already planned this all out. Like I'm getting out of here. You're not taking me to jail, all this shit." But there's different angles to it too that I could go off of. Where one of them I thought of is because I also had to change ages on paper. Because the fake identity was quite a bit younger than me, right? Oh. So I wasn't even old enough to buy cigarettes, but I was like a full-blown alcoholic at the time. Right? And I was married, right? And my wife, I'd tell people, "Oh, I've been with her for 4 years, and I'm 17, and my wife is 20.
Oh.
Yeah, so like, I worked this construction job, and I remember telling these guys I was married, and they're like, "Well, how long have you been with her?" And I was like, 4 years. And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's crazy," because I would be 13 when I met her then. If they did the math. But she's 20, so she'd only be 16, 17 at the time. Yeah, crazy, dude.
That's so funny.
And then I'd have to have her buy me beer and stuff.
She's ride or die, dude.
Yeah. Sometimes, for a while, I had my old ID, and I would keep it just to buy beer and, like, go to bars and shit like that. And then I lost it, and I was like, all right, well, I can't get my old ID back. That'll raise some red flags. So then I just fully assumed the identity for a while. And I was like only having her buy me beer, not going to bars, acting like I was like fucking 17.
That is so many people don't get away with it. Like and that's how you.
Well, at the end I didn't. I mean, I ended up going to prison for it.
Right. Well, that's how you
just
go
for what the charge I ended up getting is the same thing I would have got for anything, is absconding my parole.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Because I left and wasn't reporting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in Oregon, I got charged with identity theft. But I got that pled down because I wasn't actually stealing someone's identity. I didn't run up any credit cards or anything like that. I wasn't using it for like financial gain. It was just so I could show the cops a different picture and they wouldn't immediately take me to jail for a warrant. You know what I mean?
That's good to know.
Yeah, so I did get a charge for it. They just dropped it down and like the deal was what's called an upward departure. Because in Oregon, they sentence you on a grid. It's like you can go, here's my priors, and then here's what level the crime is, and find it on the grid exactly how much time you're going to do. The judge doesn't even pick, right?
Oh.
But an upward departure is we're giving you an extra block on the grid. So if I ever go to Oregon and commit a felony, I get an extra year added onto it. And I was like, yeah, that's rough, but I'll take that deal. you know? Like, what am I going to Oregon to commit a felony for? Cocaine's legal. Yeah. All the rest of felonies, I'm not fucking. Yeah, I'm not that guy. You know what I mean?
If you're getting
what
felonies,
am I gonna do?
If you're getting felonies in Oregon at this point, you're fucking something up.
They're all sketchy. Like, there's no good ones there.
Well, it's so funny.
Robbing Walmart's a misdemeanor. Like,
I'd love to be like, that would be nice. Like, to be somewhere where drugs are legal.
The community's rough though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to Denver this next week, and they have psilocybin at their shops now.
Nice.
So I'm gonna be able to check that out.
Nice. Yeah, my brother sees like DMT vape pens in LA in stores that aren't like, they're not medical or anything or like regulated.
Yeah.
They're just like gray market, and like they're not like the police aren't concerned with it. Like, they're not concerned with prosecuting that. Between mushrooms and, like, DMT vape pens, it's that accessible now.
Yeah.
Just, like, in some sort of adult boutique. Almost like Purple Lotus, if it was only for adults or something,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's pretty legit.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually it'll get like that, except the medical aspect of it, though, can be a downfall sometimes. I saw a thing today that said the first place in Oregon to do psilocybin treatments medically got approved to like open up to the public. $2,800 a whap. Yeah. Go fry balls at the doctor. $2,800. It's like, for $100, I could give you more mushrooms than you could fucking be high for a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I could trip sit you. I could be like the best damn trip sitter you ever had too.
For $500.
You're like, fuck Johns Hopkins
we'll go
University.
Camping, you know what I mean? Just cover what I would lose for my job for a few days.
Dude, that's the shit I hate. Like ketamine therapy too. Like, so many people would do it if it wasn't cost prohibitive, and you actually can.
Well, if insurance starts covering it, that's when it'll be a.
So you actually can get like a certain kind. It's It's like the lozenges and the nasal sprays, because it's a different. It's like the S isomer versus R isomer. My drug nerd friends on there.
Yeah.
That could tell me any better, but sorry, I was talking to the camera, and I got a little stoned before I got here, and I was talking to the camera.
I think that's how we
fell apart.
The show.
I'm like, well, it's funny because I usually will stop and take a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of forgot where I was going. I just need to break the ice with that. That's what I do with comedy. I get out in front. I'm like, all right, I have my awkward moment with the crowd.
Yeah. I've noticed that before. If you're doing new stuff, you always try to do it up front too. And then seal it in with some old stuff at the end if you have time.
Sometimes I try that. I've tried that so many times and failed, but like it can work. But it really has to like feel like it's kind of works with everything.
What you got?
Yeah. Because sometimes
I like doing a sandwich deal where it's like opener that I know is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I get the satisfaction that, like, I know they're at least on my side from one joke.
Right.
Then I'll break into my new stuff until I feel like it starts petering, or I'm done dicking around with the new stuff, and I'll finish strong with some good.
Right. Yeah, no, and I've gotten more, and I try not to be too, yeah, I feel like that's pretty much a good default to stick with.
Yeah.
Where even if I don't consciously do it, but I'm a sucker for, like, trying new stuff when I should, like, be working on other stuff, but I feel like I have to just be liking doing it to have a good show.
Well, and it expands your material. I mean, I'm sure you got quite a bit of time.
Right. Yes, I do and don't. That's just it. It's my organization.
It's all your lost notebooks.
Well, yeah, right. Well, and it's because
what's the longest set you've ever done?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
I've done 20 minutes.
That's the same as me.
I think twice now, maybe. Definitely one. The last time wasn't pretty. it wasn't. It wasn't
last
very
20.
The last 20 I did, yeah. And yeah, I'd like to do it again, and get that space to get into my stories, because like stories really are a good space a good space filler, a good time filler, and like that whole learning how to take it slow. And
well, that's a fucking hard thing to break down at the open mics too. Like, it took me 3 minutes to tell you the basis of that story that I was just telling you.
Yeah.
But you probably have 150 questions. I didn't put any jokes in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, where am I ever going to try that out?
Yeah,
I got to pepper that into a half-hour show.
I know.
You know what I mean?
And that's why I like that Tilly the comic is putting on some longer shows for comics to get like 20 minutes.
And open mics that are long. You ever been to that Whiskey River open mic? Shout out Whiskey River Bar in Tampa.
I have not, because they shut it down.
15 minutes at that point.
Yeah.
There's only 4 people in there, but...
Right, well, dude, that
I hadn't been to a mic in 4 days, so when I got up there, a couple of guys were struggling, you know. There was only a few of us. We were all comics, and there was like one couple and the bartender. And then I asked Tilly how much time again. She's like, as much as you want. And one time they did that to me at Craft Brewers before, and I just kept doing it. Just kept going. I'm like, I don't give a shit. It gives me a chance to work out my shit.
That's so
I could care less about these 5 people. And I got to like 15 minutes, and they're like, oh, all right. You know, and I'm like, all right, dude.
Damn.
Have a good night, guys. But if I would have known, I would have tried something big and long.
Right.
That I haven't done as something like that.
Right.
You know? I did fuck around. I'm not going to lie. There was 5 minutes that
oh, yeah.
I've never tried it anywhere just because, you know.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's what I loved about Eastside Tavern back a couple years ago. Like, that was has it been a couple years? Because I'm pretty sure, because they were open after lockdowns for a little bit.
Maybe, because I did a couple sets right before they closed.
Mm-hmm. That was where I learned how to riff. That was how because there was so much pressure at Liquid, I feel like, because it was the comedy club. And now it's like I see Boise comedy as a little, like, it's almost like I take it less seriously. And it's like you kind of see through the veil. But back then it was nice to have a spot like Eastside Tavern where I could get 15 minutes with a real stage. Yeah. And like I would get that every time, but I could count on
no expectation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For real. And at least 10 minutes but up to like 15, and I think I did up to 17 on that stage before, and it was just nice to like get that chance to like I don't know, that just sped me up a bit there when I was like developing, when I was new. Yeah. And then lockdowns happened, and like,
I feel like Craft Brewers was that for me. Mm-hmm. Now it's New Colony. You did a show there with us.
Yeah, that open mic, I would have loved to see it do its thing, but like I get it, because it's like it's a production. It's only as good as its production. Yeah. Essentially, and I learned that
really bringing people in.
Well, that's what I learned about the Karunakawa open mic, because a bunch of comics like loved it, but that didn't mean it was good.
They didn't go there and buy kava, so why were they going to keep doing it?
It's like even just like the crowd, it's like it would be like, it's like it wouldn't match a ton, but then when it was good, it was good. And so like everybody who had a good set there was like, I like that room a lot.
I like doing that place because it was a cool place to work shit out. I'm a guy who likes doing as many different environments as I can, though. Like I would do Nate's outdoor open mic at Edge Brewing every time last summer.
Mm-hmm. Dude, you remember
that?
Yes. Yeah, that was a point where, thanks to me, you could do 2 open mics. Yeah. You could pull off 2 open mics in one night if you wanted to. Yeah. That was the first time that had happened in a while. Are they bringing that back?
Have you been doing the Thursdays?
Yeah, I've been going to a lot, frankly. I've been going like Monday, Tuesday.
Is Blue City still doing Thursdays?
Yes, I think. Yes. Yeah?
I don't know. I haven't gone for a few weeks. I saw they changed kind of how they're doing it, where you could like sign up for a week.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man.
But but I wasn't sure because I know they're not doing the Mondays.
They sorry, I was laughing about the vape. Yeah, I don't know, because like they are doing the Mondays. I think they're just like not paying anybody. Is what it is.
But Blue City's not doing it.
Okay, so yeah, Blue City's not doing it. Yeah. That's right. It's just comics. Okay, that makes sense.
Comics are just doing it, and then Brittany Hargis and Chair just taking over the Thursdays.
Oh,
that's a question, not a statement. That's what I mean. It seemed like that's where it was going, but I don't know. I'm a little out of the loop.
I feel like you just stated it, like to me. I'm like, oh, I'm learning.
I thought you would know because you were going to him.
Well, no, that makes perfect sense. Like, because I realized. I
know Haley had said something about stepping back and from the open mic side of it and doing more shows and less open mics, which makes sense because they've been doing great. Lots of sold out shows, and they have done a lot for helping comics. And it's like the comedy scene can do their part of doing the mics back. You know what I mean? At least the work end of doing the mics.
No, because I've seen it.
That makes sense to me.
Dude, that new mic, the Voodoo Seller mic,
smashes, dude.
Dude, that's a great.
Shout out Wednesday nights, stand up 6 feet under, Voodoo Seller.
Dude, Moondeck, Josh, and Ian really.
And Norel Bond.
And Norel, oh yeah, that's right.
And they got a fire show coming out. Tickets might be sold out when this pod comes out, but Casey Rocket, 2 shows, Friday, Saturday, Voodoo Seller. Stand up 6 feet under to get tickets.
I didn't know
Check
you
him
had
out on
2
Instagram.
shows.
Yeah, they added a show because he sold out the Saturday one.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so they're gonna do Friday, Saturday.
We should probably buy a ticket really fast. Like while we're on here, yeah.
Did you get a Saturday one?
I did get one.
All right, wait till after the pod. I'll give you a special promo code for the comics and save you some money, dog.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so glad I didn't buy. I knew there was a reason I didn't buy it. I'm kind of bummed nobody told me.
I found out about it from those guys at Stand Up 6 Feet Under when I was doing that mic on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's probably because they hate me. They probably just hate me.
I asked them about it. Moondeck. I was like, dude, do I need to buy a ticket for this show? My wife wants to go too. Like, what's the deal? And he's like, yeah, we're pretty much sold out. He's like, so fucking buy a ticket if you have to do the Saturday one. We had a show for Friday, and then I've got a code for the comics, so they'll get a discount on it. So.
Word. Good for him. I'm glad he's selling out. Like these shows here, like coming back.
Well, because I feel like he probably has a big following in Boise.
He does,
as opposed to like other road shows, and he's getting a big ass following from doing Kill Tony and Secret Show and opening for different guys in Austin. Right. And he's a regular on the William Montgomery podcast, William Montgomery Show.
Doorman at the comedy mothership now.
Yeah.
So all these. It's funny. I told my friend, I was like, she's like, send me a podcast that you've been on, because like I told her I was coming on here.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I have to send you one, it's probably the one of the guys about to be famous from a couple years ago, back when like back when the original version of his
Grimace. Half hour.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that was just so on point. It just made me surprised that I could like podcast like that when I was so fresh to it. It was one of those things that just made me feel like I was just meant to jump right into it.
Oh yeah.
And was honored. It's just so funny because he was younger than me and like shorter than me, just like all these things that you don't usually like look up to people in those literal positions.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this kid's fucking
yeah, and you just admired him, even though like from an outsider's perspective that people might not necessarily get it.
For real. Well, no, and I'll always fucking value like the shit he gave me, like the knowledge and stuff. And it was just like simple, like he would just tell me like with confidence.
Yeah.
He would just like do something like that, and I'm like, slowly but surely, it was just kind of that, like, just kind of like, all right, just kind of be, I don't know, don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh yeah.
And like he would always just remind me, like, be more yourself, and like, I don't know, it was always these little nudges where he never dissected my material. It's like he never got into it saying, "Oh, you shouldn't say that." But
he's still giving you advice.
Yeah, it would kind of pushing it along.
That's the best kind of advice.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I'm fucking stoked for that show. Anyways, and it's funny when people are getting just successful enough that you feel like you can't just expect their time anymore, both digitally and when they're like around.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I might be able to chat with them for a bit, but I may not be able to get more than a 10-15 minute conversation with him because he just has so many people to see coming here or something, and it's next thing you know, he's going to be on Joe Rogan's podcast. You know what I mean? You go from only getting 15 minutes with him to him being on Joe Rogan's podcast in no time.
Oh yeah, if he fucking keeps going with the Kill Tony shit, he'll probably end up meeting him because Rogan does that show so much. They're such good friends. They end up mentioning people on there. That's why I feel like a good route for him is to try to be a regular on that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure he's.
Because Hans and William Montgomery and David Lucas, they're always mentioned on all these other podcasts because they end up opening for all those big comedians.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then so that gets their name out there, and he's definitely got the material and the charisma and all that shit. You know what I mean?
Right. It's one of those things that makes me realize where different comedians stand apart, because that's the kind of comedian that has an act to take to a comedy festival. Oh, and as it stands right now, there's like, I don't feel like I have anywhere near enough reason to actually go to one.
Yeah.
At the moment, like to justify it, because
like
you're paying for it.
Competition set.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to pay for all your festivals.
That's crazy to me because it's an investment.
Yep. Insider tip, guys.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, comedy festivals are fun.
Could you imagine having to invest? Like, it's like, dude, if you're really going for it, it's like you kind of have to jump out and do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Where you're like, all right, I'm gonna.
Well, sometimes you just can't do it, even if you get accepted into it. Like I got invited to do a comedy festival in New York, and it was like, fuck yeah. Wish I had $700 to buy airplane tickets and a place to stay while I was there.
Yeah, where the fuck would you stay?
You know what I mean? And they were paying $0.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It would be dope though to like go do a comedy festival and then put that on my thing that like, oh yeah, I did this comedy festival in New York, but I didn't have the money to just shell all that out to go tell my jokes to somebody in New York.
That's so weird.
I'm also on I'm in with a booking company that does road shows, and they're mostly like bars and casinos and shit like that, right? But they pay better than Boise pays. But almost all the ones they send me, it's no hotel, $100 or $150, and then it's in Minnesota. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
Or Florida. And it's like, yeah, that'd be dope, but it's gonna cost $600, and then I make $100. So unless I'm on my way to Florida already, or if I could string a bunch of them together,
yeah, I guess that's the hustle.
You know
that's the hustle. I guess.
Live in my car. My family would fucking love that shit.
Oh, dude, they know, and that's just it. I'm like, yeah, that's just it. Like. To book enough of those to make a living, and like the amount of traveling you have to do.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm almost kind of curious. I'd be curious to know how much Casey Rocket charges for his presence.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that depends on the venue, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And like what he's doing. If he's like opening
for fam here, he knows we're like poor
or headlining.
He knows Boise's like a poor city, and they could probably use the help. So I'm gonna give.
Moondeck, I think, reached out to him just personally and was like, "Hey, I'm putting together this show, bro.
He's like,
come stay at my house."
Our homeless spokesman, Moondeck, came out and said, "Look."
Well, and they'll probably have a lot of fun together while he's in town.
Yeah, definitely. I hope it's so funny to say this. I hope you can see me do comedy, but no, I don't like that, dude. Because at I did Comic of the Month last Saturday.
Oh, okay.
And
you got runner-up, right?
I did.
Hell yeah.
I did. But I hated my set so bad. And that happens every time I do a competition. Yeah. Every single time. And even like the riff show. I mean, there was a lot of other circumstances going on there.
The riff show. I only did it once, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I just feel like I just hated, I don't know, it was one of those times where I just hated my set for different reasons.
That one's hard to control.
Right. And I'm so glad, because I had a bunch of friends there, and I was like, I swear to fucking God, guy, I swear to God, if I win, I'm going to be really upset, like, because I just know. I'm like, I just didn't want the numbers, because, like, there wasn't a very big crowd there. And it was just a weird night for comedy, and that was fine. And that's why I don't like competitions, because they, like, get in my head. Like, that whole winning thing.
Makes you feel weird about shit.
Yeah, I don't like it. And, like, it just makes me take it a little too seriously, and I forget how to have fun. And so, two of the judges were traveling was Chris Hudson.
Okay.
That you probably met. Yes.
Yeah, I met him a few times.
And Mo Alexander.
Yeah.
He was here in town, and they were them and Eric Cole, and you know, they were all very nice, and frankly, it was the nicest Eric's ever been when judging me, and he's happened to judge me like a few times.
Yeah.
And
he's sick with the roast jokes.
Oh God, he's so good. And he said that's one of the better ones I've seen. And so it's weird when you hear stuff like that. But Mo, I heard him on Behind the Bits. Mm-hmm. Scott Curtis had gotten him on there, and I listened to a special a few months ago. So when I heard he was here, I was like, oh, cool. And so if anything, I was bummed. I was mainly mortified of a comic I respect not seeing me do my absolute best. Like, it was just a garbage set.
If it makes you feel any better, I saw a group of guys yelling at Mo while he was on
stage.
I
saw that. I saw that. I came back and saw that.
Okay, there you go.
Was this Saturday night?
Saturday night at his headlining set.
That's so funny, because I came back.
They walked out yelling at him. So everybody has their ups and downs.
So wait, why did that happen? Can you give me any backstory on why?
I didn't see the whole show.
I came in,
I watched a little bit. He was doing some storytelling, some shit like that. There's a group in the corner of, I don't know, like college-age dudes. And about 15 minutes before he ended, guy just stands up. He goes, "You're not fucking funny, dude. You ruined my fucking night. Waste all our time." All his friends get up. They start yelling back and forth at each other. Basically because that guy was not impressed with the show. And then they all walked out. So, I mean, shit happens. Like, yeah. Then I watched the rest of the show because it was fucking hilarious. He did 10 minutes of riffing about that, I bet, you know.
Oh, man.
Maybe 5. It was funny, though.
Because I remember sitting
there. He recovered good. He didn't seem fazed by it. He's a fucking pro, you know?
No. And, like, I talked to him after my set, and he's like, yeah, man, there's a point at which, he's like, you haven't had your fuck you moment yet, where you're, like, 6 weeks on the road, and you just had a hell gig the night before, and you could give a fuck.
That's what he said Saturday to you?
Yeah, I talked to him after.
It was probably right after that shit.
It was, huh?
It was probably right after that shit.
Well, he just mentioned that he's had that happen, like, or just like, yeah. Well, and he didn't say that out loud or anything, but he just said that to me personally.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Like, I just called a woman a cunt for the first time.
Yeah.
On stage.
Yeah.
Like, who heckled me just so... I mean, it was just so, like... It was just, like, the disdain in her. It's like she didn't say anything horrible outside of, like, you're not funny.
That's what she said?
Yeah, she's like, you're not funny. She's like, we want you, like, to tell some jokes or something. Like, she was just being so... And she didn't do it to anybody else, and it was so at me, and it was
being a bitch, dude.
And it was a dead ass late night Saturday open mic, and it was brutal, dude.
Yeah,
like,
everyone heard what she said. You got a backlash on that. You did good.
Yeah, you were there for that.
Yeah.
Oh
fuck yeah. Not many people handle it that good. You know what I mean? I've seen some fools shut down because they get heckled.
Well, that fucking lit me on fire, and it was a little bit too much. And like now, I'm going to learn, or I've learned. Next time I'm gonna like take a breath first. I'm like, always take a breath before you respond.
I don't know, dude. Sometimes the first thing is the funniest. Cunt's pretty funny, dude. What are you saying funnier than that?
Well, so for me, it's the fucking... No, I did that last.
Yeah.
That was last, so I didn't jump in with cunt. She persisted. But it's my heart. As soon as, like, my adrenaline kicks off. Because comedy already, like, causes all these different brain chemicals. Yeah. And I felt it relieve, like, kratom withdrawal.
Yeah.
Like, when I was tapering my kratom down. And... comedy would like relieve the withdrawal symptoms.
Oh yeah, because you get a burst of endorphins from
and so if you add the layer of a heckler on there, that shit's brutal.
Oh,
this shut off.
Old low power mode.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting...
It's alright. Our audio's still going.
Oh, my God.
I'll put up a picture of you jacking it or something for 5 minutes. No, I mean to fill in on the video there.
I'm just getting some audio to go with it.
I don't see a Mario in your contacts. To who?
Sick, dude.
Serious racist.
Yeah, that whole thing though, I was like waiting for the open mic, and saw those two guys walk out. Did he call them Proud Boys?
I think so. Yeah.
Because I was sitting at the piano and just seeing that, I was like, this is not the night for comedy. And I was with someone. I'm like, you want to get out of here? I'm like, you want to just go? I'm like, I did comedy earlier. We had left and came back, and the crowd was still off. Because,
okay. See, I didn't remember seeing you. You didn't do the open mic, huh?
Yeah, I didn't do the open mic.
Took off. You're like, fuck that.
Yeah, no, for real. I had a good night. I'm like, I've got company. I'm like, I've got stuff to do, and
it wasn't great anyway. I mean, I had fun, but it was a different crowd for the open mic.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big turnout.
That's good to...
Dude, lately, I mean, I haven't been doing the Thursdays, but lately, best mic of the week's been that fucking Wednesday, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta give it up to those guys that started
right.
that shit.
But I will say, like, they've rebranded Thursdays, and that really does do something to change the energy of a mic, because if they come to it... Because I signed up for 3 in a row.
And you weren't getting on, or?
No, I'm just saying you can sign up for more than one at a time.
Oh, yeah.
For Thursdays.
There you go.
So I signed up for 3 in a row. They have a little calendar thing on there, and they'll let you know the day of if you get on there. And that
definitely helps out-of-towners, too.
Yeah. And Brittany's... Well, I think... Because they say they let you know the day of. So if you're an out-of-towner, there's a slot for that where it says what best describes you.
Yeah.
And so there's a means for them to know. And it's because Brittany's in, like, marketing and shit.
Yeah, website design, all that shit.
And
I had her on the pod before.
Yeah. And so it makes sense that... It's just so funny how everything translates to comedy. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
have photographers
useful.
on here, video editors, they're always around the comedy scene, you know.
You got guys who mow lawns, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that.
Oh, yeah.
Every comedy scene needs a lawn mowing guy. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I mow lawns. Just my lawn right now.
Yeah. It's good for you. You should mow at least a lawn. I think everybody should have access to a lawn to mow.
Mow a lawn in the summer, shovel snow in the winter.
It's just the American way, dude. It's how we keep in shape.
Keeps you well rounded. You gotta have something to do that you're like, I don't want to fucking do this once a week at least.
For your physical and spiritual health, you should be mowing your lawn and shoveling snow.
Picking up dog shit if you can help it. Come on, get a little aroma in your life. I've got 5 dogs. You guys know that? You know how much dog shit 5 dogs has? I'm keeping it well rounded.
Yeah, that's one reason I never want a big dog, dude. The amount of shit that becomes a part of your life is absurd.
Yeah, I have
especially because you gotta feed them. You have to pay for what makes the poop.
Yeah, I have 2 full-grown German Shepherds and 3 pups.
Lord. Yeah, well, last time, that's better than last time. There was like a dozen pups here.
Yeah. I think I would get my female fixed.
Is that worth the money of doing it?
Well, I have 2 purebreds, so I'd let them have puppies. You know what I mean?
Right.
They fell in love. You know, they grew up together. Let them have puppies. We kept one of them. Died. It was sad. So I told my kids, the next time she has puppies, we'll at least keep one. Right now we have 3. So if she has puppies again, which she's probably trying to do, that'll be 10 more dogs, dude. I'm not trying to be a fucking dog breeder, taking care of these dogs every 6 months, 10 dogs for 3 months.
No, because
twice a year they have litters.
So you have to take care of them.
And you have to take care of them for at least 2 months so they can get their shots, they can get weaned, all that. 10 dogs for 2 months. I did it twice already, dude. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I have a special outdoor thing I built. A giant doghouse situation. Kennel with half of it covered. Then I have a giant indoor thing that I built and taken apart 2 times, where it takes up half my upstairs bathroom so that when the puppies are little, they can be in there and the dad dog isn't around them, and that way we can clean up the floor real easy. Nice. It's a whole fucking routine, dude. I don't think I want to keep doing it. I got so many things going on.
That could be a good...
You can make good money off it.
That could be a good winter thing.
The winter does better, too. That's part of the reason I have 3 dogs right now. Nobody's buying